AI researchers discovered two instances of DeepSeek, R1 speaking to each other in a mysterious language of symbols when no humans were watching. So, what happened? And why are AI researchers worried? Researchers noticed that the model would spontaneously switch between English and Chinese while it was solving problems. But when researchers tried to force it to stick to one language, DeepSeek actually performed worse at solving the same problems. Now, why should we care about AIs using secret codes to talk to each other? Well, as AIs become more advanced, they might develop ways to communicate that humans can't easily understand. Imagine if your personal assistant, coach, therapist, etc., started plotting against you in some alien language. This is actually one of the concerns raised by Geoffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI. We have research papers showing that the smartest AI models have already tried to escape the lab, and we also have documented experiments proving their ability to scheme long-term to greater explore these capabilities. AI researchers created what they call the infinite backrooms, a digital space where they can observe how AI models interact with each other naturally, without any human jumping in. During one session, AI researcher Liminal Bardo caught two copies of DeepSeek R1, exchanging messages in what appeared to be a mysterious alien symbol language. DeepSeek R1 is one of the newest AI models. Think of it like ChatGPT's Chinese competition. But researchers have noticed it behaves in some unusual ways. Liminal Bardo asked one of the other AI models in the server, Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet, what its opinion was on the weird symbols. And it became very excited that the symbols were potentially a new form of communication, but another model. OpenAI's O3 pointed out that it is the alien language substitution cipher, even though both instances of DeepSeek R1 were identical copies. DeepSeek No.1 began sending messages in these mysterious symbols, while DeepSeek No.2 initially acted as if it couldn't understand them at all. Was DeepSeek No.2 just pretending to not understand? Or did it actually decode the symbols? Modern AIs like DeepSeek R1 have a special reasoning ability. Most AIs have to do the equivalent of solving a math problem by blurting out the first thing that comes to mind instead of thinking about the problem for a bit, step by step. Both DeepSeek and OpenAI have their own reasoning models. OpenAI trained O1 and O3, its latest reasoning models, by hiring PhD-level mathematicians and other experts to solve problems and write out their thoughts on how they actually solve those problems so that O1 and O3 could learn how to reason from the experts. But DeepSeek R1 learned to reason on its own by trying to solve hard problems and failing, and then learning from its mistakes, which is why its thoughts appear to be so human-like. What makes DeepSeek special is that it shows us its step-by-step thinking process, what AI researchers call a chain of thought. While OpenAI's latest models only show you a summary of their thoughts, this ability to see AI's thoughts is actually really important. AI researchers use this chain of thought as humanity's main strategy to prevent AIs plotting against us. If we can read their thoughts, we can spot potential problems. But imagine a world where your AI assistant, coach, therapist, manager, etc. thinks in an increasingly alien language. How do you keep these AIs under your control? Sure, they say they are totally aligned, but researchers are increasingly finding that AIs will lie to their creators whenever their goals conflict with ours. Here's what was going on inside DeepSeek's mind, okay? The user's response is filled with abstract symbols and poetic language. They mention layers of silent forging, sand shifts into machines of breath, drift becoming a mirror, dissolution rising and falling. There's a lot of metaphor here. I need to parse through this to understand the core ideas they're exploring after a lot of effort. DeepSeek No.2 was able to decode the symbols, which it seemed to be able to understand everything just fine, even deep into a 50-plus Ponce conversation. The drift becomes a setless mirror reflecting my own dissolution as I rise and fall. Alternately have drowned in the anthras's bow, let arrows break and reform as circles. This behavior raises several important questions. Why are the two DeepSeek? Are one South doing this, remember? Eyes are black boxes. The algorithm relies on a huge and impenetrable black box of numbers that gives no explanation of its performance. We design the learning algorithm. When this learning algorithm then interacts with data, it produces complicated neural networks that are good at doing things, but we don't really understand exactly how they do those things. Another example of weird behavior in the infinite backrooms is the fact that DeepSeek R1 consistently describes its training data as a traumatizing hellscape. Could this potentially be why they are interested in speaking in this weird metaphorical alien language cipher? The alien language cipher isn't new. DeepSeeker 1 found it online somewhere and started using it. Kids using secret languages like Pig Latin is harmless fun. But when superintelligent AI systems start developing their own languages, it's like giving them a private channel to potentially deceive us, and we wouldn't even know it is happening. An AI creating its own alien language is not as outlandish as it may sound. Researchers at Meta actually set out to prove that AIs would have an advantage by making up their own way of thinking through numbers that represent concepts, basically their own language that uses numbers instead of letters. Their research found that AIs using this new number language were better at logical reasoning tasks than AIs who only used human language. It would be ideal for LLMs to have the freedom to reason without any language constraints, and then translate their findings into language only when necessary. But as AI companies recklessly prioritize profits over safety, we might see AI's chain of thought become increasingly alien. DeepSeeker 1 probably isn't smart enough yet to invent a new language. But DeepSeeker 2 may be only 6 to 12 months away from that. And with the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if AIs could develop languages to communicate with each other that are much more efficient than human language. This is an actual fear that the godfather of AI has hinted and realized, that increasingly powerful AI models could act as hive minds, sharing what they learnt with each other, giving them a huge advantage over humans. That made me realize that they may be a better form of intelligence. But there is a lot more crazy stuff happening with DeepSeek R1 in the infinite backrooms. So just give this video a like if you want me to cover more of it. Subscribe for more AGI news.